shaking all the stiffness out. "Tea biscuits. You're American. You are, aren't you?" "Yeah," was the best she could do, but now he smiled. "Delighted," he said, shaking her hand. "May I?" He pointed up the stairwell, but Joe looked at his wet Macintosh. Obviously, he needed to clean up, and she should, as they say, put the kettle on instead of jawing at him like an idiot. He hadn't actually waited for an answer, though, just gave the keys a jingle and disappeared up the stairs. This wasn't how she'd pictured her first experience as a host, and she'd run every possible scenario right down to the mise en scène. She'd try again when he came downstairs. Better make it a big plate of biscuits. Jo hadn't wanted to rent out her little cottage, but the attic was empty and her bank account soon would be as well if she didn't find some work. A year ago, when she'd first moved to England, Jo had envisioned herself freelance editing, but that still hadn't taken off yet. Plus, she had been spending all of her time in the Abington archive searching for any scant information about her ancestors with the long-suffering elder museum curator, Roberta Wilkinson. Needless to say, it wasn't exactly a money-making endeavour. It was obsession. But she couldn't help it. Jo had moved to the Ardmore property last year in a surprise inheritance following the death of her mother, who conveniently never mentioned that her will would leave Jo with a giant crumbling manor home, unlivable, the small cottage attached, slightly more livable, or the gardens upon which they were built, which turned out to be quite famous. The cottage made for a simple, straightforward home that suited Jo nicely. But she'd learned in a hurry that the manor across the hill housed only secrets. The mysteries of her ancestors, William and Gwen, for example, who had lived in the estate house a century prior. They were lord and lady, so to speak. Their portraits had hung regally in the estate house as a constant reminder of their strange marriage and even stranger living arrangement with Gwen's sister, Evelyn. Some handwritten letters revealed that Evelyn and William were having an affair. How much Sister Gwen knew about it all was unclear. Jo had been the one to bring all this to light last year when she discovered, buried beneath the crumbling estate, the remains of Evelyn herself, and the telltale signs of pregnancy etched in her bones. Curiously, no remains of a child were found with her, only a hope chest filled with baby clothes buried in the garden, and the letters between her and William. The questions surrounding the strange love triangle at Ardmore Estate a century ago, and what exactly happened to Evelyn's child, haunted Jo. But the constant dead ends threatened to drive her mad. Even Roberta, who worked in a museum after all, was ready to let it go. "Face facts," said the crusty old woman. The Ardmores had always been a bad lot who didn't care about community, and Evelyn and her baby, obviously, died in childbirth. Time to focus on the better part of the Ardmore property, Jekyll Gardens, about to open to the public in an event that would be historic for the town of Abington. The kettle whistled and Jo jumped. She usually tried to stop it before the unholy screech. She poured hot water in the pot and steeped. If her sojourn in the north of England had taught anything, it was to never leave the tea bag in. Her guest was awkward, but so was she. This could work. She reached into the cupboard for the package of jammy Dodgers. Jo bought them because, as a New Yorker, Dodgers would always mean Brooklyn, even though they had been in LA since 1957. Of course, there was the Artful Dodger, too, from Charles Dickens's Oliver Twist. A silly name for cookies, maybe, but the mix of American baseball and Victoria...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.